Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly MMA Cycles Market Update. Today is the 29th of May, 2024, and I am Gianni DePoce, your host. We have a lot to talk about this week. We have, first of all, a shortened trading week in the U.S. Markets were closed on Monday in observance of Memorial Day, but we're coming up into the end of the month of May, so an important time for many markets. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Start off by looking at the Dow Jones, which continues to decline. The sell-off really began to accelerate after Venus ingressed into the sign of Gemini on the 23rd and formed a conjunction to Jupiter on the same day. And then we had Jupiter sextile Neptune the same day. But this past weekend, we had some important geocosmic activity as well. We had a trine between Venus and Pluto. And then, of course, the big move was Jupiter moving into the sign of Gemini, which has a pretty strong correspondence to highs of significance in stock markets being completed. Now, the key here is that this high for May 20th was before that ingress. That may be close enough, although we cannot rule out the completion of another low here in the coming days and a return back to new highs, because the good news is that the NASDAQ continues to outperform. The NASDAQ composite hit a new all-time high yesterday, which is not a bearish signal at all. And of course, you had the big move in NVIDIA stock that broke out last week and is accelerating also to new all-time highs. So when you see moves like this happening underneath the surface of the indices, it is notable. Although I will say Jupiter and Gemini, NVIDIA is pretty important for artificial intelligence. Those chips are major components of it. Jupiter trine Pluto coming up this weekend on the 2nd of June, followed by a conjunction between the Sun and Venus next week on June 4th. So keep an eye on NVIDIA here. Jupiter trine Pluto may be important for this particular stock and the overall market, especially as it pertains to tech. I want to take a look at the interest rate on the 10-year Treasury. We're seeing it surge here again today. We do have important inflation data coming up on Friday, the Fed's preferred inflation metric, the PCE data, which allows for substitution of consumer goods and services. But, in looking at the bond market through the lens of Jupiter trine Pluto, Jupiter can mean a lot of supply. Pluto rules debt. So if there's a lot of debt on the market, it's going to mean higher interest rates. And we know that there continues to be a spending problem over in Washington, and that's not going to help the situation here when it comes to higher interest rates. So I know it's popular and trendy now to cast the blame upon the Federal Reserve for all of the monetary woes, but on the fiscal end of the equation, there needs to be some accountability as well, because running perpetual deficits does not help in the lowering of inflation and interest rates. So just something to keep in mind on that front. I want to take a look at the euro against the dollar, because we're seeing a big reversal back lower, a big rebound in the dollar here. And this could be another lower high with respect to the longer term trend. And we've pointed out before how Venus going into mutable signs seems to have been pretty interesting and important for the timing of important highs over the last several months. We had this high here in March occurred not long after Venus went into Pisces, and the one here back in December was around the time that Venus went into Sagittarius. So on the actual day that Venus went into Gemini, we had a low, but we formed a high a couple days after, and there was even another high a few days before. The Japanese yen continues to weaken. I think this is a big story in currency markets, and I have my eyes on this, especially going into the Jupiter square Saturn, which I think is going to be a pivotal moment for central banks this summer, as we have the first of 3 passages set to unfold on August 19th. Let's take a look at gold and silver. Gold still looks to be in the search for a primary cycle low. When it comes to silver, we had a huge rally yesterday. We didn't make a new intraday high. We closed at a new high in spot silver. And, we're looking here. It'd be better to have a primary cycle crest complete, but it could continue higher near term. If we rally into the $34, $36 area over the next week or so, don't be surprised if that turns out to be a primary cycle crest. We are due for some volatility in that space. I want to take a look at crypto markets, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin still consolidating near the highs here. This is bullish price action. There's really not much to update. As long as we're above those lows from May, you can give it the benefit of the doubt from the long side. When it comes to Ethereum, had a really nice rally last week after we had the reports of the SEC approving the Ethereum spot ETF. It's been consolidating those gains, which is constructive price action. And I did mention last week how we did satisfy that Venus and Taurus study of a 20% or greater move in both Bitcoin and Ethereum. So that was really nice to see. Let's take a look at USO for the crude oil ETF. We did see a big rally on Tuesday. We're giving some of it back today. But I do want to jump back over to precious metals real quick because I just remembered we are in a double air solar lunar combo right now. We have the sun in Gemini, the moon in Aquarius, I believe. And so we are, at that point where you could have an abrupt reversal in precious metals once again. So just something to keep an eye on because we're seeing that big sell-off in USO crude oil, and it's looking like a lower high of significance could be forming, although I do like the idea of a primary cycle low being completed here in USO and prices continuing higher. So that takes care of everything that I wanted to review with you today. Thank you so much for watching. We did just send out the monthly grains report and the monthly addendum plus report starting up MMTA course 7, not this weekend, but the following weekend. And that's all for now. Check out our investment retreat that we're going to be having in Lake Bled, Slovenia, September 19th to the 22nd. Details can be found at www.mmacycles.com. If you liked the video, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. We have guests on periodically, and we have a really nice one coming up in June for you. I hope you stay tuned. Thanks again, everyone. I'll see you next week.